Okay, so joining me on Phan TV today is Phantoms forward number 12, Nathan Pollard. Nathan, just firstly, how are you getting on in these times we're going through at the moment?
Hi Tom, thanks for having me. Yeah, really good. I think it's really difficult in terms of the situation we're in, but I think everyone's just got to make sort of the best of what you can. I think there's obviously I miss my family a lot, and I spend a lot of time with them normally, especially in normal circumstances. But I think just having people around you with the technology that you've got, and I think you could imagine something like this 20, 30 years ago where you haven't got that sort of technology and you can't do these quizzes, you can't keep in touch with people. I think it's definitely changed for the good, and yeah, it's not ideal, and the sooner we can get back to all being together and doing that, and the better. But I think I've been able to cope a little bit better because we've been able to have that technology to keep in touch with everyone. But I am missing sport. I'm really missing sport. I even watched a Bundesliga game earlier because I just miss the football and especially the NHL and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I guess with obviously the Bundesliga coming back now as a bit of football, it's sport. It shows to people that we will get back to normal eventually. So although it's not in our country at the moment, it's a reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've still got a couple of fantasy Premier Leagues. I'm on the edge of getting to win, so I hope it doesn't get voided and I miss out on that chance. But no, you're right. I think it's slowly starting to take a twist. I think Germany probably handled the situation a little bit better than we did in this country, and that's why they've been able to resume a little bit quicker. But I think it is a bright light that if that's going to happen over there, then it's only a matter of time before it can happen over here. And hopefully the hockey season doesn't suffer too much of a delay. If it doesn't start in September, hopefully it's October time and we can get started again.
Okay, so moving on to hockey, obviously what we'll do is we'll go back to the start of your career to begin with. Obviously you've played all but around 19 or so games in Peterborough. So you had a little spell with the Raiders a few years back, but apart from that, it's all been Phantoms Juniors, Phantoms, Islanders, Phantoms 2. All of that. So when you started out, what were your ambitions? Was it Phantoms? Was it whatever the Elite League was called at the time? Or was it potentially going abroad?
It's a tough one. I guess probably when I started out, I just started playing for fun. I didn't really think about any of that sort of stuff. And probably a lot of fans and people won't know, I used to be a defenseman. So until I was 19 and made I think it's my second or third year for Phantoms, I started playing as a forward, and since then I've done that. But I think ambition wise, you always want to play for your local team, and it is a dream come true. And I know I've played quite a few Phantoms games now, but every time is the same. You come out and you skate in front of that crowd, and it has a special feeling, especially being your hometown team. But I don't think I had any further ambitions. I just wanted to play as high as I could, but I never thought, right, I want to get to the Elite League, I want to go to abroad. I always grew up idolising the Phantoms players, and I always grew up wanting to be one of them. So I think that probably was the level that I was going for, and anything else would have been a bonus.
Okay, and obviously, like you said before, you started off as a defenseman. You've been in and around the Phantoms team, sort of on and off for your whole career, really. But so your debut came in 2010, 2011. Do you remember anything of that day or that night that you put the jersey on for the first time?
Yeah, a little bit. I remember we had a pretty good junior team. So that year, I think it was under 18s, and we had a really, really good team. So I think the first line was, I think it was Connor Stokes, Luke Ferrara, Connor Pollard, me, and a guy called John O'Williamson who played a few Phantoms games, but then eventually moved over to uni. And then we had Dan Lane in goal, and we'd go pretty much all the way to the national finals. I won't mention because Welds will probably start shoving it up, but we'd always end up losing out to Nottingham, who Welds and Tom Storr, Callum Bowley and those guys played for. So we had a really, really strong team, and there was quite a few of us trying to break through to the Phantoms. And I remember playing, I think there was quite a few games where I went into it not thinking I was going to get any ice time. And at 16, you're sort of going through and you're like, if I get any ice time, it's a bonus, but it's probably not going to happen at the moment, especially as a D-man. I think as a forward, you can go out and get chucked in on the wing and chip a puck in and go and get it. But as a D-man, it was really difficult to be relied on at those, because it was a 5-import league, but it was really, really strong, and the quality was tough. So it was probably about 8 or 9 games before we all got proper ice time. And I think there's about 10 minutes left of a game against Swindon where my first actual shift was. And Connor Stokes ended up scoring a couple of goals. And I think me, Connor and Luke Ferrara got assists on one or the other. And it was like a night for prospect players. But I think there's a video on YouTube actually where Connor Stokes got a couple of goals on his first couple of shifts for the Phantoms. But it was a special feeling because you never really play in front of a crowd. As a junior, you play in front of your parents and the dog and the neighbours and stuff like that. But you don't play in front of a crowd. So for the atmosphere to go in, and yeah, it was probably the 9th goal of a 9-3 win. But because it's a young player, you know what the Phantoms crowd are like. They love the youth. So I think it was a special moment for all of us.
And obviously, before the last maybe 3 seasons, you're up and down quite a lot between Phantoms 1 and Islanders, and then Phantoms 2, obviously. But do you think, although you had ambitions of playing for Phantoms 1 maybe on a more consistent basis at that time, do you think your time with the second team kind of really benefited you because you were top line, power play, loads of ice time every game, scoring goals, getting assists and that sort of thing? Do you think that
Yeah. I think any person I've ever spoke to, I'd say it's the best hockey decision I've ever made was stepping down. When I played in Romford, we'll probably go on to Romford in a little bit, but when I played there, I got quite a bad knee injury, and I carried on playing, came back, and it was still not great. And I was playing Phantoms 2 and Phantoms 1 when I come back, and it was coming to, I think we train Tuesdays, we train Islanders Wednesdays, train Phantoms Thursday, and then we go into the games. And by the time it was Saturday, my knee was knackered. It was causing me a lot of pain, and it was like I'm giving 40-50%. So I remember texting Slava and just saying, look, I can't do it anymore. It's putting me through quite a lot of pain, and I'm going to step down and see what happens. And it was part of that, but part of the other part was I wasn't getting much ice time. I think probably my first 100 or so Phantoms games, I got a handful of shifts every game, and you start to lose love for the game, and you don't understand. You get on the ice and you sort of chucked in, and you get a puck, you have no idea what to do because you haven't got the confidence, and you haven't, as a junior player, the gap in juniors is quite big. So the top player on a junior team against the bottom player on a junior team is massive because every kid pays their fees, so every kid plays. Whereas in seniors, you've got just a group of professional players that you're trying to come up against. So I think for me, the best thing I'd done was step down because I learned how to play the game. And I think another point was being a forward. I'd never played as a forward in the league on a consistent line ever. So going down to Islanders and doing that, playing power play, playing penalty kill, playing top line, playing with some good players, really benefited my game.
Okay, and you mentioned your time with the Raiders just then. So that was 2013-14 when you went down there for not loads of games, and it was the only time you obviously played outside of Peterborough. But sort of how did that come about, given you'd always been in Peterborough, and what was your time like when you were down there?
Yeah, it was really, really good. I think it was probably June, July time. I was speaking to, trying to think who the coach was at the time. Might have been, I think it was John. I think John Kiddiston was the coach of Phantoms, and I got a call from Danny Marshall, who, if any British ice hockey fan that's followed the EPL or the ENL knows the name Danny Marshall from Romford. He's played there for 20, 25 years, record scorer for them, and got a phone call from him and just said, Sean Yardley's going to be coming down here. I've signed Jason Buttman. Ewan King's coming. Dwayne Newman's going to come. You could all come in 2 Peterborough cars and come down. So it's like the fun bus. But it was really, really good. I remember getting there for my first game. And as hockey fans, I know Romford has a big reputation of being a tough team, like a really tough team. And I went in the corner against Gosport and got absolutely drilled from behind. I can't remember who it was. And I sort of turned around, quite angry. Turn around and there's 4 guys, gloves off, sticks down, just started a massive line brawl with Gosport. And I was like, right, I'm probably safe here then. And that was sort of it for the rest of the games. There's such a tough team. It was a really intimidating place to come and play. And we had some good players as well. And I think they moved out of Romford Rink and the crowds were down and they ran into some financial trouble. So they sort of let all of the Peterborough guys go. So all 5 of us, I wasn't playing, and actually it was quite bad because I just got a phone call from the from a coach. This was 10 minutes after I'd already had a phone call from Yards screaming, saying we've all been sacked. So obviously Yards was the first to tell me. But yeah, they come into a bit of money trouble, and that was that. But I did really like playing down there. But it was just it was tough travelling up there. I can see why quite a lot of guys don't want to travel, because it is quite draining, especially with a full-time job.
Okay, so obviously after that time, you came back to Peterborough and you were playing between Phantoms and Phantoms 2 at the time. So if we just bring it forward to last season, obviously, I think you're around 25 points. Obviously, elite prospect isn't always right, so you might correct me on that one. But I believe that was your highest scoring season for Phantoms 1 to date. So how do you look back now? You've had a few weeks to kind of reflect on the season. How do you look back on it personally, considering the points, and then collectively as a team?
Yeah, personally, I thought it's a good year. I think probably points-wise, but then I felt I added a lot more. I penalty killed a lot more, played on my power play in different kind of situations, and just felt a lot more comfortable on the puck, and felt a lot smarter on the ice. So I think personally it's a really good season. I think as a team it was a tough season. I think we, at different points of the season, we had different positions that we could have probably took advantage of. We obviously had that cup final, which we narrowly lost in. We had a few league games that we probably shouldn't have lost and shouldn't have dropped points, and we come so close. But I think this year we weren't as prepared, weren't as lucky as we were the year before. I don't think we got any major injuries the year we won the treble, and then this year we had to rotate a lot, and it makes a big difference swapping guys on the line, and there's good chemistry built up, and slotting another guy in, it takes a couple of games. And I think people forget that Robbo got injured for so long, and you see Robbo come back into the team and you see how good Robbo actually is. And I think that could have been a genuine difference between us winning the league and where we finished, because he was a massive part of the team.
And obviously you've re-signed for next season. I think it was on a two-year contract. So when you get the call from Slava, is there any temptation anymore really to think about moving elsewhere? If anyone else comes in, do you ever think that could be quite interesting, or is it always kind of Peterborough's my hometown, it's where I've always wanted to play, and that's where I want to stay?
Yeah, like Phantoms is always going to be number one on my list. I think anyone that knows me and anyone that speaks to me, if Phantoms have come in with an offer, I'm not really going to listen to anyone else or entertain anyone else. I actually think I signed this 2-year deal. I think it was December 2019, so it was quite far back, and Slava sort of asked me and committing to the long term, and I said, of course, like there's no reason why I wouldn't. And I think in my head, until I'm no longer in Slava's plans, or if Slava eventually goes and moves to the elite league, because he is obviously an outstanding coach and probably should be at that level. But if I'm obviously not going to be in Slava's plans or Phantom's plans, then I would look to move somewhere else. But the longer I can stay and build up those appearances and keep playing in front of our crowd, then there's nothing that's really going to take that away.
Okay, and now you've got that contract sorted. Obviously, you said it's been sorted for quite a long time. I guess it's given you a bit longer to kind of, obviously there was no pressure in the second half of the season. You knew you were staying, and you just knew if you kick on, obviously the higher chances will come further up the lines and that sort of thing. So what are you kind of aspiring to do next season? Obviously, you've had your career best with Phantoms 1 last season. Is it to build on that?
Yeah, I think I want to be better than that. I think playing in most situations of a power play and penalty kill and all that sort of stuff. And I think I had a decent year because of the guys I was playing with as well. I think Welds and Connor were unreal. I think especially over the turn of a calendar year. I think it was probably around the time that I signed the new deal, and I think it was just after January. I think as a line we were really, really good, and Slava was matching us against Nell's line and Hewitt's line and lines like that to because we're quite on top of it defensively, but we were chipping away with points as well. And I think a lot of credit can go to those guys. And I think next season, personally, I'd obviously love to beat that total, but I think if we can come together as a team and gel like we did last year, and I think there was fine margins last year, but I think we still, every year we overperform. I mean, you probably put us in terms of budget in the league, and we're definitely in the bottom half. And I think it's tough because we we're a team that breathes success, and we're always up there and about. And I think as a fan, you do start to get used to that, but as a player, you also start to get used to it as well. And you lose a couple of games in a row, and you sort of think something's wrong. But the league is super competitive, and you saw that last year. Those teams that beat each other, and those teams that didn't lose at home for 5 or 6 weeks. And I think for us, if we can go in with a chance of winning silverware, I think that's what everyone's goal is going to be.
Okay, so I asked Norts this question the other day, and he went very, very, very Nottingham car based with it. So, Nathan Pollard, your dream line from players you've played with at Phantoms. So you've got 1 goalie, 2D, 2 forwards. Obviously, you're the third one. You can have 1 import in there. So you're having on your team. Okay,
cool. So goalkeeper, it's got to be Ryan Bainborough. I've grown up playing with Ryan my whole life. I remember being able to do the splits at probably age 12, 13 and just absolutely robbing guys. And I think, in my opinion, he's the best backup in the league. And I think he pushed Marzi quite close in quite a few games last season. And we had some massive games that he ended up winning for us. And I think for me, he's definitely dream line goaltender. And I wouldn't pick another one ahead of him.
2 defensemen.
Okay, first one will be my import, so it's going to be Dwayne the Dog Newman. I think he's Phantoms legend, Pirates legend, and he played with me in Romford. We played there for half a year, and then I played with him a little bit in Phantoms, but he's the only guy that I can ever remember. So I was lining up for a face-off. I think it's a 5-on-3 penalty kill. I was taking this face off, and there's 3 seconds left against Chelmsford. And I can remember it clear as day now. There's 3 seconds left against Chelmsford. And hit Newman. I turn around, he's laying on the ice, literally in front of. So they've got a guy lined up on the edge of a circle who's obviously lined up to shoot. And I'm thinking, I cannot lose this face off because Newman is literally laying across the ice. And the ref sort of blows his whistle and says, Dwayne, you need to get up. And I won't swear on the podcast, but you can imagine what I'm about to say. And he was saying, no, I'm not getting up. I'm laying here. I'm going to block this shot if it comes in. And I've never been so scared to lose a face-off in my entire life. And that guy would do absolutely anything for the team to win. I think he must have blocked. I think he probably had one of the best save percentages in the league. You must face 100, 150 shots a season. So he's definitely my first defenseman.
Second defenseman to play alongside him.
Second defenseman was probably when I remember growing up and watching with Phantoms, and I eventually ended up playing with this guy for a couple of seasons. It's going to be James Hutchinson. I think he was just so smart on the puck, and he wasn't the tallest guy. He wasn't a massive defenseman, but he was really good on the power play. He was just a really good read of the game. He was funny. He was one of the good guys in the room. I mean, we'd all have a good laugh if that lineup was put together. So yeah, Hutchie definitely for me.
Okay, and so you're the first forward. You've got 2 others to play alongside you on your dream line. Who are they going to be?
So the first one is going to be the Elite League's leading goal scorer last season. So Luke Ferrara. This guy scored goals every time I played with him. We grew up playing together. He's one of my best mates, and we played every season in juniors together, and I've never seen a guy that scores so many. He's just so good in front of the net. And when you're 12 or 13, all you think about is going top shelf, and you don't think if it goes low, it doesn't matter because it's not a good goal. And Luke could score about 60, 70 goals, just low blocker, 5-hole, and he just had such a knack to find that net. And we played a couple of years for Phantoms, but it's mainly juniors growing up. But yeah, Luke could definitely be on there.
Okay, and I've got a sneaky feeling who I think this last one might be, but
yeah. So I'll do the honours. So last forward on my roster would be Connor Pollard. So yeah, Connor, obviously grown up playing alongside him, grown up living alongside him as well. So yeah, he's absolutely class. I remember being a D-man, obviously, and Luke and Connor used to play together, and Connor would just feed the puck to Luke, and Luke could score every time. So I think if I could get the second assist on every goal that line scored, and just let Connor and Luke do the work, then that sounds like a dream line to me.
You've got Ryan in goal. Dwayne Newman and Hutchie at the back, with Nathan Pollard, Connor Pollard, and Luke Ferrara.
Team line full of goals, mate, I reckon. Especially get that PP, Hutchie at the top, maybe put Numi in front screening. He might block him just out of habit. I don't think he's played much PP. He might end up blocking the shots, but we'll give him a go.
Okay, and just finally, obviously, like we said before, we're going through some difficult times at the moment. So have you got a message for the fans, just a bit of inspiration to keep going? Obviously, we all know hockey will be back. There's no doubt about that. So have you got a message for the fans?
Yeah, and like Tom said, we know hockey will be back, and if anyone's as desperate for hockey to be back, it's me. I think probably for a lot of you, hockey's my happy place, and it's a nice escape, and it's a nice escape from reality and everything that's going on outside there. And I think it's definitely going to be back soon, and I just think everyone needs to stay positive. I think the Phan TV are doing a great job keeping everyone engaged with all the signing announcements and doing all of that sort of stuff. But I also think there's been a post out today about mental health, and there's obviously a call out to if any fans want to call from the Phantoms and just lift their spirits and do all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, we're just as eager to get back as everyone else is, and just hope everyone stays safe, stays positive, and if you do want us to get in touch with you, then make sure you message Phantoms with the details, and one of us will give you a call.